Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 94 of the 476ers podcast, maybe. Today we're going to talk about Sixers plus some playoff picture stuff, and that's it. Take it easy.
Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhyme that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode whatever 90-something. I don't know, maybe low 90s. I don't know. I tried to look just now. It was taking too long, as if I was on the clock. I'm not on the clock, obviously, because we live in a bubble. There's a vacuum of things happening here that you don't even know that happen behind the camera. And there's like a separate reality, right? Just like the reality that goes on the camera here where I'm like, welcome to episode such and such. And then there's the reality behind the camera where I'm like chain smoking and drinking at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm not chain smoking. I might be drinking at 7 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, so we're going to talk about some Sixer stuff. Obviously, we're going to talk about playoff picture. Last couple weeks have been stressful for me personally. Well, not that it's important, but I've been trying to think about a couple other things. So I haven't talked about the last few Sixers game. Obviously, didn't talk about the Milwaukee experiment. That's what we're going to call it, the Milwaukee experiment, where we went to Milwaukee, played 2 games over there, didn't have our full staff of resources. On Thursday, we had closer to a full team. We didn't have Ben, obviously, but Toby that was Toby's first game back. He didn't look right. Nobody looked right with that game, honestly. Joe, I thought, did a pretty good job defending Giannis. I thought he did a great job defending Giannis. I mean, that's not really anything. But ultimately, they just too much scoring. They score a lot of points this year. They've scored a lot in the past, but this year their defense hasn't been the focus. They defended us really well. Obviously, Toby again struggled for the majority of the game, and then Saturday's game was whatever. That was like an exhibition. I watched, I think, the first half before I was out. This has gone bad. I think I watched. I had seen Seth try a sky hook, and then I saw Danny try a sky hook pass, and I knew it was going left. In the third quarter, we tried to mount some sort of comeback, and Seth started, kind of cooking a little bit, but ultimately, we just didn't have it. We didn't have Joe. We didn't have Ben. I mean, as soon as I turned on Saturday's game, I was like, I see here, Toby's taking the jump now against Brooke. This can't be good for us. And right, it was not good for us. And then the other thing that was frustrating about Thursday, because it seemed like Toby was not playing defense during the first half on Thursday. And then the second half, he turned up. He realized, oh shit, that's right, I play defense now. And then yesterday's game. Yesterday we played Oklahoma City. Not much to take, not a lot to take away from a lot of these 3 games. I mean, Thursday's a little bit more. You could take some stuff away from Thursday if you wanted to, but again, no one in the NBA generally is healthy. You know what I mean? But obviously, Joe's shoulder is bothering him. Toby just came back. Ben is sick, probably sick of his family issues. Who knows? Who knows? You know what? I'm not making light of that. His family issues are not good. Him and his sister have it's almost an Oedipus complexian type situation there, except not, because obviously Oedipus is about the parentals. Anyway, that's not the point. So yesterday's game, obviously, I mean, the first quarter, there was a good graphic yesterday that NBC Sports put up. That was, I think in the first 8 minutes, they scored 24 points. And then in the last 20, over the last 24 minutes up into that point, which was in the third quarter, they had scored like 42 points, something like that. And at that point, we were up 20. I mean, it wasn't, that team isn't, except for Darius Baisley kind of scoring on Ben at will. I do like Darius Baisley, and I don't know why I have to always take drive-by shots at Ben. But Ben, yesterday Ben showed 2 things. He showed exactly why I don't necessarily think he's the defensive player of the year. The idea that he's locking down people, these one-on-one situations and all that. He does have some success in one of them. Not to say that he's a very good one-on-one defender, but that's not the reason why he would be defensive player of the year. It's because of all the weak side shit. He had that one block on a 3-pointer on Charlie Brown Jr. Where he sent that out of bounds. We had a bunch of steals as a team, but that's Ben's thing. Jumping passing lanes, kind of weak side. You're not focused, and Ben gets a hand in there and steals the ball. That is why Ben would be defensive player of the year. As a team, yesterday we came out obviously wanting to play defense. obviously wanting to pick up on that side of the ball, make sure that we let them know. And listen, there's nothing like having a bad team to stop a 4-game losing streak. You know what I mean? It's been a tough thing. You know what I mean? We played Phoenix. We knew it was going to be a tough stretch. Phoenix, Milwaukee twice, and then this. You know what I mean? It's not an easy stretch of games by any stretch of imagination. Phoenix is a good team. Phoenix is a good team. You know what I mean? They're they're obviously the 2 seed. And considering that Utah essentially just lost 2 straight games to Minnesota, Phoenix just won yesterday. Phoenix has a chance to kind of get into that that number 1 seed spot, and that would be. Listen, I don't know that Phoenix is going to win a championship. I don't know that they're going to come out the West, but I think getting the 1 seed after last year, essentially losing out on even getting into the play-in. You know what I mean? They didn't even make it to the play-in. They lost out on getting into the play-in after going 8-0 in the bubble. Shows kind of this new determination, this new commitment to defense and all that stuff. So, and then obviously you add Chris Paul. I think it's almost a little bit unfair. Listen, I love Chris Paul. If you want to give him an MVP, please do. I absolutely will back that. But I think that's minimized. We tend to minimize certain storylines, and we're minimizing the fact that Phoenix was 8-0 in the bubble yesterday. During the bubble, I'm sorry. They were 8-0 in the bubble. They were showing some sort of coming together. I think people just wrote that off as a fluke, and that's why this year them being good is a brand new concept. Whereas, we could point to the bubble as a, hey, there was this small sample size that they had committed to defense, that Devin was understanding now, starting to understand more things, and boom, you know what I mean? Now they're playing great. Yesterday, Chris Paul with the most swaggiest shit-talking moment after he hits a big 3. He said, "What the fuck wrong with these N-words?" You know what I mean? Like they must have forgot who Chris Paul. You got to put respect on Chris Paul's name. It's funny because I saw it live. I watched a lot of games live yesterday. I was after the Sixers game, pretty much in the fourth quarter of the Sixers game, I started flipping between other games. And as I saw that shot and I saw him mouth it, and then I went and saw the highlights on NBA's Instagram, and they 100% were not going to show his face, what the shit he was saying. It was funny, but good for Chris Paul. Love him to death. I am wolfing the day. I wanted to wait to do this podcast until I got a haircut. I probably should have. I'm getting a haircut later, but anyway, point being. So here we are. Obviously 3 weeks to go. You know what I mean? I'm going to do this again before the playoffs, where we're going to talk about some of the playoff stuff. But, I wanted to take a quick snapshot because I don't have a ton of thoughts right now on the Sixers. Just again, not a lot to say right now. You know what I mean? We blow out Oklahoma City. I mean, Oklahoma City does play teams tough-ish. They have a lot of talent. I'll say that. I like Darius Bazley a lot. Obviously, I just said that I did that little drive-by on Ben. I should say that I do like Darius Bazley. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be good. Obviously, he showed some things last year. I'm pretty sure they're probably not going to have SGA for the rest of the season. SGA is obviously the best player on that team, but they have a lot of guys. You know what I mean? Like when you look at the construct that construct of the roster right now, you see a ton of talent on the team. Pokusevski can either you turn on a game of Oklahoma City, and you're either going to see him do something dazzling or do something wildly maddening. You know what I mean? He goes from JaVale McGee to Larry Bird in the same game. It's crazy. And he's just such a skilled, really graceful, as awkward as it looks, because he's so skinny and so tall and lanky. There is a certain grace to the way he moves. Solid defender. He's 19 years old, 19-year-old kid. You know what I mean? Imagine put him in a 21, 22-year-old body. He's probably going to be pretty good. Bazley is good. I like Isaiah Roby. Theo Maledon has shown some things over the season. Obviously, SGA is an animal. Luguentz Dort has gotten his three-point percentage somewhat respectable, and he's shown a really ability to initiate the offense, to score. They got a lot of talent, and it makes more sense when you look at the coffer of draft picks they have. At some point, those draft picks aren't worth anything, right? They become a sunken cost if you have too many draft. I mean, you can only have so many players on a team. But if they're developing these young guys, I mean, they're becoming a factory. They can just start pumping these players out for actual value to add to their team and make them better. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I don't know how it's going to work out. It's not like the NFL, you know what I mean? With the NFL, you're keeping 100 players on a roster, 53 active, and then a practice squad, however many players they keep. It'll be interesting to see, you know what I mean? It'll be interesting to see how they start creating creating this value in these picks based on their development of these players. You know what I mean? Listen, Jeremy Grant was there. You know, maybe there is a development thing. Jeremy Grant was there, and then all of a sudden moved on to Denver, and now look at him. He has a big contract, even though he averages 22 a game or 43% shooting. But hey, you know, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge, right? 43% shooting. Um, you know, hey, way to go, J Grant. Anyway, I don't know why I did a drive by on Jeremy Grant just now. Um, so you know they play teams tough. It's whatever. They got a lot of talent. They have some guys there. I like a lot of their guys. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens going forward. Um, it'll be interesting seeing. It's going to be interesting seeing what's going to happen in the playoffs. I mean, obviously Furkan, you know, I got to give Furkan some credit. You know, as much as I've mentioned this a few podcasts already, that as much as Furkan's green light syndrome offends me at times, his defense is really taking a step back, a step up. You know what I mean? It's almost like he understands. He plays like a Manu Ginobili type defense, where Ginobili almost knew that physically he may not be able to stop guys from getting by him or getting through him. So he's going to use some of the smarts to try to poke the ball away, get steals, do things like that, affect the game in that way. And that's kind of what the school of Furkan's defense is right now. It's not necessarily no stopping, and he doesn't really stop anybody, but he does a good job, you know, kind of blowing up plays a little bit, you know, what everyone's doing. You see the aggression on our defense. You know what I mean? Generally, everyone on our team is active with their hands. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see, again, who's going to lose minutes. I mean, right now, again, at any time, and I said this before, I said this talking about George Hill previously, anytime you look at our team on any given night, you can essentially throw a dart at the board and say, I guess maybe he's going to take Furkan's minutes, maybe he's going to take Shake's minutes, maybe he's going to take Matisse's minutes. And you know, I think right now watching us play, I mean, maybe Shake is affected. I mean, Shake is sometimes, man, he just, and I feel bad. I feel bad sometimes. Yesterday he missed a layup and he was so down on himself, and I just wanted to comfort him. I wanted to, you know, let him know, Shake, it's going to be okay, man. It's going to be okay, brother. You're still a good person. You know, being a good person is better than being a good basketball player in a lot of ways. Obviously, when you're playing basketball, being a good person is not necessarily better at that moment than being a good basketball player, but you know, it's all right. It's okay. You know, and sometimes he has ups. You know, sometimes against the Bucks he played pretty okay, and then so ups and downs. You know what I mean? Ups and downs. There was one moment yesterday that I did appreciate where Anthony Tolliver had a block on defense and Shake did a great job. I mean, this is a point guard's job, and I've said before, Shake is not a point guard, but this is a point guard mentality. You know, a guy makes a good play on a defensive end, especially a big man, makes a play on a defensive end, gets back down. You reward him, and Tolliver hit a three-pointer. That was his first points as a Sixer. I thought that was a good job by Shake, but so you know, I don't know what's going to happen. The thing I really am having trouble saying he should take Matisse's minutes because Matisse's defense is too important. Honestly, Matisse's defense is too important. I don't know that we can just take Matisse off the floor. You know what I mean? I don't know that that's the smartest thing to do. So we'll see. We'll see. I think George, you know, but then again, you know, you need that point guard play. You know what I mean? I am glad Dane is getting some time off. I mean, it's kind of good. You know, honestly, listen, Joe, I'm sorry. You're going to have to pack up. Just pack up the MVP. Just pack it up. You're not going to get it, man. It's fine. A piece of me wants to say just rest a week. Get everything healed. Get your shoulder healed. Make sure your knee is good. Take a week off. Fuck the MVP. Fuck the awards. Come into the playoffs healthy, warmed up, playoffs warmed up and ready to go. Take a week or two off. Fine. You know, there's 3 weeks into the playoffs. Take the next 10 days. You know what I mean? Get to May 7th, you know, something like that, and then warm up for the next week, and then boom, right into the playoffs we go. Ben yesterday looked bouncy. I will say that he looked bouncier yesterday. Looked more active than he's looked in previous weeks. Whether he was sick or not, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. Whether he was injured, I didn't think so. I don't know. Yesterday, he looked good. That's all I can say. He looked bouncy yesterday. Toby got some rest. Maybe even Toby could miss a game or two. Danny's getting some rest now. You know, he's apparently injured, whatever. Give him a couple days off. I'm completely cool with that. Let him regain his shooting form when he comes back. Hopefully, he doesn't expire his touch. Seth, I don't know what to do with Seth. He's been shooting better over the last few games. So maybe he's regaining his shooting touch a bit. And let's go into the playoffs healthy and ready to go. That's the most important thing. You know what I mean? That's the most important thing. Let Dwight's shoulders rest, so that he is not as flagrant with his offensive fouling. Maybe he needs to rest his shoulders a bit. You know what I mean? Just calm him down. His shoulders probably don't need rest. They just need to be brought down. It's like a kid that's too hyper, and you got to settle the fuck down. Shoulders. Let's settle your shoulders down, and let's put you to the side, and then, whatever. And let's go in healthy. So I don't know that we're going to catch the 1 seed. Honestly, I watched a bunch of basketball yesterday, so that's always my favorite thing to do. Let's just take a quick spin through Brooklyn. Obviously, I don't know that we're going to catch the 1 seed. I mean, KD. I've never seen KD. I've never seen a human being, and this is just seems to be happening more because even D'Angelo Russell right now is balling for Minnesota. He just came back a week ago. It just seems like guys get injured and there's no rust. They figured out how to knock the rust off. Maybe it's some sort of science or analytics thing that teams are doing, because KD seems to be unbothered. I mean, he just absolutely baked the Suns. I mean, him and Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie. I mean, wow. God help us all. Kyrie, man, going through Ramadan, fasting, but feeding on the souls of teams. I mean, goodness gracious, Kyrie is out here with his haircut. He has a no number up top, but has a one facial hair. No symmetry in facial hair to haircut, and he doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? He doesn't give a fuck. He's just out here baking everyone. I mean, it's crazy. He just dominant. You know what I mean? Good for him. Good for him. I mean, that dude has all the talent in the world. I mean, let's just be clear. He has all the talent in the world. I mean, everyone's always, you're going to look at James Harden, you're going to look at KD and say these are the two best players on the team, and that's fine, but Christ have mercy. I mean, right now, the way Kyrie's playing, the separation between Kyrie and those two is not what I think we probably thought it was coming into the season. Definitely not me. I mean, shit, me and Vic did a top 10 under 25 or under 30 podcasts, like 29 and below podcasts over the summer. And I was arguing about Kyrie in the top 10, not being in the top 10. And, Kyrie it's almost like he heard that and he said, yeah, I'm going to show you, bitch. I'm going to show you. You know what I mean? And he's showing me. He is shoving the words down my throat. You know what I mean? And I got to eat them. No seasoning. Dry words. Pause. Anyway, Utah is they got hot at the wrong time. That happens. You know what I mean? Teams sometimes get hot at the wrong time. It looks like there's some holes being poked into them being good in the first place, because it seems like they were catching teams at the right time. You know what I mean? They caught a bunch of teams at the right time. Obviously, Rudy didn't play Joe once, right? I don't think Rudy played Joel once this year, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, he did. I'm lying. We played them twice, and Joe did play one of those games. I'm pretty sure we won that game. That was the game that Ben really did actually lock up Donovan Mitchell. And that was Donovan. I don't know what Donovan was. Right, I remember that game. They didn't run any screen and roll. Essentially, Donovan was just trying to go one-on-one with Ben, and that's a tough situation. Ben cannot get through screens, so you have to put him through screens. So we'll see. I don't know. They just lost 2 straight to the lowly Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, the Timberwolves are playing better. They are playing better. They have been playing better late in games. Anthony Edwards has attributed that to him being in the starting lineup, or to him being in the lineup, not being benched. They just got D'Angelo back yesterday. He played great, had a game-winning layup. I think it's funny watching that game last night. So if you watch it, Mike Conley hits a three-pointer that puts him up 1 with 5 seconds left. All right, so he puts him up 1, and the announcers, the broadcast team is like, I mean, what a drawn-up play by Quinn Snyder, blah, 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 blah. But if you really watch it, it's not really a good drawn-up play by Quinn Snyder. Mike Conley catches the ball at the top of three-point line, does a dribble move, hits a step-back three-pointer over solid defense. That's not has anything to do with any play by Quinn Snyder. That was an individual crazy shot by Mike Conley. Then on the other side, the Timberwolves, I can't remember who their coach's name is right now, they actually run a good play that ends up confusing Mike Conley and Rudy. Well, really probably Rudy, because I'm almost sure that there is no way that they want Rudy on the perimeter. You know what I mean? They flare out Karl Anthony Towns to the top of the three-point line, assuming that he's going to get the ball, and Rudy chases him. They set a little screen with they set a screen with like a rub action with Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo. D'Angelo going to the rim, Cat going out to the three-point line, and Mike Conley and Rudy follow Cat out to the three-point line. Ricky Rubio takes his time, makes the right pass to D'Angelo, who's literally right by the basket, hits a free throw. I mean, hits a layup to go up one, and they win the game. That was a good play. That was actually a good offensive play. And people are like, oh, D'Angelo, ice cold. It was a layup. Relax. It's not. Mike Conley's shot was ice cold. D'Angelo's shot was just like it was a bunny. You know what I mean? It's literally a layup. So whatever. But that's not good for Utah. Obviously, that's not a great sign for Utah here, especially because Phoenix is playing well. Phoenix, they beat us, they lost to the Nets, and then they beat the Knicks. I mean, that's a tough schedule right there. You know what I mean? To have to deal with those 3 games straight, that's not really an easy situation. They played us without Toby too. That's not it. It's not an easy game though. You know what I mean? It's not easy. You're still matched up against Joe. You know what I mean? And whatever. So, so I don't know what to say about Utah. Obviously, Donovan's out right now. I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back in a week or something like that. We'll see what happens. I'd be worried. I'd be worried if I was a Utah fan. You know what I mean? I'd be worried because if you look at these play-in now, look at the play-in. So the Spurs yesterday just won a crazy game against Washington. So if you look at this chart here, obviously the Spurs are the 9 seed in the West, and Washington is fighting for their lives. I think they're a game up right now, and it was a hell of a game. I mean, I think I looked at the schedule yesterday, and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a good game, and it was. It was a hell of a game, and you got the ultimate Russ experience because Russ in the fourth quarter in overtime, Russ decides he's going to, at the end of fourth quarter in overtime, he decides he's going to guard DeMar DeRozan. DeRozan, who had at that point skewered everyone else, Russ decides to guard him, and he plays great defense. I got to give him credit. I mean, he plays excellent defense on DeRozan. But then at the end of overtime, right at the end of the overtime period, they're down 1. So he plays DeRozan well. He comes back and takes a terrible jump shot, and it's the ultimate Russ experience. You know what I mean? It's essentially what Russ is. It's good. That's the story of Russ's life. You know what I mean? The delusion of grandeur. Can do so many breathtaking things and then take a bad shot. You know what I mean? Essentially, Bradley Beal I think Bradley had 47 is what he finished with. Maybe, was it 47? 45. I can't remember. He had been baking them. Just absolutely unstoppable in overtime. How you don't get the ball to Bradley Beal, Russ, is very confusing. It is very, very confusing. You know what I mean? Bradley has essentially scored on everybody out there. You know what I mean? And you don't get the ball to Bradley Beal, that's kind of confusing. They're 10-1 in the last 11, or 10-2, maybe 9-2 in the last 11. I'm sorry. So they're fighting for their playoff lives. The Spurs, listen, the Spurs are not a sexy team. They got a lot of guys. Jacob Poeltl is he's one of the best rim protectors in the NBA right now. A little slow-footed, but does play great defense. He should have fouled out yesterday. There was a bad call about that. DeRozan can score with anybody. You know what I mean? And the thing is now is different on the Spurs. I would think if DeRozan goes into the play-in tournament, I'd be more scared of DeRozan in that situation than when he was with the Raptors and there was all this pressure and all these high expectations for that team. With no expectations, DeRozan probably is dangerous. You're probably going to be a little bit scared of him. You know what I mean? They're locked in right now. If it ended, they'd be playing Golden State, where Steph is just fucking, Christ, help us all. Help anyone. Help anyone that has to guard Steph right now. I mean, Lord have mercy. He's just absolutely demolishing everyone. I would think that's not great for the Spurs. And then you got Portland, Memphis. We'll see what's going to happen here. So whoever wins the 7-8, right? You got Portland, Memphis right now. If they win, whoever wins out of that goes to see Phoenix. Memphis is playing really well over the last week. They got Jaren Jackson back, and again, back to it seems like people coming back from injuries and they're playing fine. And Jaren Jackson is no different. He's playing excellent since he's come back from injury. Memphis is playing well. Did Memphis play? Did they win yesterday? Hold on, I can find out right here. I think Memphis won. No, Memphis lost yesterday to the Nuggets. Right. Let me see. I'm pretty sure they have a loss. Right. Yeah, one loss there. Yeah, they lost to the Nuggets yesterday. They lost to the Nuggets. They got blown out by the Nuggets at that. So Memphis, I think Memphis is going to beat Portland. I'll be honest with you. I would think Memphis beats Portland. So there's a chance you have Memphis versus Phoenix. Let's say Golden State wins that winner of 9-10 right there, and then they go play Portland. Let's say it's Golden State Portland. That would be fantastic because then you would continue the MJ Clyde comparison between Steph and Dame. And who's going to win there? Yeah, I'm going to pick Golden State. And then Golden State plays Utah. I would be scared of that if I was Utah a little bit. I think Utah would win that series, but I would definitely be a little bit worried about it for sure. You know what I mean? I maybe I'm too down on Utah and I just don't believe in them. But holy shit, I don't think anybody here wants to see Steph in the first round. I don't think you would want anyone would want to see Steph here. You know what I mean? The fact that the play-in tournament could reward you Steph Curry is kind of sucks for Utah. Unless they continue losing if Phoenix takes the first seed. Then you get to see Chris Paul versus Steph again. You know what I mean? That's assuming Steph obviously wills them through 2 straight wins in the play-in tournament. So I think that a lot of these teams are locked in. The Clippers have quietly been playing well. It's really possible that the Clippers get to the 2 seed. It's really, really possible. They've been playing well. They got blown out yesterday. Other than that, though, they have been playing well. Without Kawhi, I mean, Kawhi is going to be down probably for the next week. I think he had a toe injury or something like that. So Clippers Dallas would be, obviously it's anything that's going to involve Luka is appointment viewing. So you know what I mean? And listen, this could all change because as you can see, Dallas is 33-27. This is separated by 2 games here. You know what I mean? It's more than possible that Dallas can fall. KP just got injured again. So they lost another guy. Who knows what's going to happen? I think they lost yesterday too, if I'm not mistaken. Dallas lost yesterday. So we're going to see they lost to the Kings. They lost to the Kings, who actually lost to Golden State the night before. They lost to Golden State Sunday night, beat Dallas yesterday. So that's not great. Denver and the Lakers. I have to. This is going to be rough if you end up giving Joker the MVP. This is a worst case scenario right here. Let me explain why. Because there is a history of players who get an MVP trophy, go into the playoffs, and get outplayed by the guy who thought he should have had the MVP trophy. So a la when Karl Malone won the MVP trophy, Michael Jordan absolutely demolishes the Utah Jazz because he believes he should have been MVP. The year that David Robinson won the MVP trophy, Hakeem Olajuwon absolutely demolishes him, vanquishes him to the depths. The Admiral. It makes sense that he's in the Navy because he was in the submarine after that. Who else? There's other stories. You could point to Charles Barkley losing in the finals to MJ, but I thought Charles Barkley puts up a hell of a fight in that final, so I wouldn't even really use that one. There's a ton of situations where a guy wins an MVP trophy, they run into the other MVP favorite. And the thing is, LeBron is not an MVP favorite anymore. Obviously, people were talking about him as an MVP favorite until the injury. But I assure you, in his mind, he's an MVP favorite. And I assure you, if Joker wins the MVP, seeing LeBron in the first round is the worst case scenario for the Nuggets. That is the worst case scenario. I know people are saying, I've seen people say, I don't think the Lakers can beat Denver. I think you're sleeping on the Lakers because they've had so many injuries. And if they're healthy, there is no situation on the planet that is going to convince me unless AD gets hurt. Yeah, if AD gets hurt, you have an argument. But if LeBron is healthy and AD is healthy, there is no situation that LeBron lets them lose in the first round. There is just not. I'm sorry. There's not. I'm not going to believe it until I see that. You know what I mean? I'll die on that ship. There's no way LeBron losing in the first round is the worst case scenario for his career. You think he doesn't know that about his legacy? He absolutely does know that. He is not going to lose to Denver in the first round. I'm just going to lock that in. Poor Denver. Denver needs to do everything they can to get the fuck out of that. They need to go on a losing streak if I'm them. Go on a quick losing streak. You don't want to play the Lakers in the first round. And losing streak, I mean get to the 6th seed and play the Clippers. You want to play the Clippers in the first round, I'm sure. So we'll see. In the East, so Atlanta just lost yesterday. Right? They lost yesterday in a really bad loss. They lost to the Pistons. I mean, it just seemed like the Hawks have been playing great, so I'm not going to give them shit. They've been playing great over the last month. I mean, essentially since they fired my man, what's his face? Damn, what's his name? This is killing me. Oh, man, his face, obviously old Sixers assistant is killing me. Anyway, since they fired him and put Nick McMillan, they've been playing really, really well. Got to give them credit. They lost Trae Young last week, and they've won. I think they're 2-1 since they lost Trae Young. Bogdanovich has been playing great. They lost yesterday, but, it seems like that's a young team. To me, that was like a young team kind of smelling their own shit, running into a team that has nothing to play for and them losing. You know what I mean? Sadiq Bey's been playing great for the Pistons, by the way. He looks like he could be something. I mean, it could be a bad team, good stats guy, it's possible, but he looks good. He's shooting at a high level. The Knicks, the Knicks Atlanta first round would be so fucking fun. I'll be honest with you, because it's just one team that only gives a fuck about defense against a team that only gives a fuck about offense. Who will win? You know what I mean? Who will win in the playoffs? I am here for that. I am here. Let's keep Knicks Atlanta the same. Whatever we got to do this, let's keep Knicks Atlanta the same. I want to see that. I don't care. I want to see that. Miami and Charlotte. So in the play-in tournaments, we got Miami and Charlotte. I'll be honest with you. Miami winning doesn't scare me. I think we can beat Miami. I'm not worried about Miami, but I don't necessarily want to play Miami in the first round just because of the Jimmy alpha dog thing that he does when he sees Ben Simmons and all this shit. Just seems like that would kind of suck for us. That would suck for us. I don't know. That would suck for us. Trey, what's his face? Tyler Hero has been trash. He's been trash all year, and then all of a sudden he's going to see us in the playoffs and he's going to score 30 a game or something. That's going to piss me off. So I would prefer not to play Miami. I'm not worried about Miami or Charlotte. We could be both of these teams. Charlotte, I like. Charlotte, we can beat them, but Charlotte, I enjoy Charlotte. Charlotte reminds me of the Bulls a few years ago. Like right when they first got Derrick Rose. Not to compare LaMelo Ball to Derrick Rose. Even though, LaMelo would have probably been rookie of the year had he not got injured, and Derrick Rose was rookie of the year. But it's a completely different team, different mindsets. No one here thinks Tom Thibodeau is this offensive mastermind. He just isn't. He's the opposite of an offensive man. Whatever the opposite of offensive mastermind is what Tom Thibodeau is. But this team's the ball movement is fantastic. They have Terry Rozier reminds me of Ben Gordon. This just kind of high volume scorer who there's like this whole other separate team with Gordon Hayward, all this ball movement happening. Gordon Hayward almost reminds me of like a Luol Deng character. This team with all this ball movement happening, and then when you need a bucket, you can get one from Terry, who's been playing great all season. I mean, what are you going to say? PJ Washington's been playing great. They play him at center. And it's been like kind of I don't want to say a revelation because he's too small, but he's been playing great at center. Against us, you're not going to be able to live with that. Miles Bridges has been playing great. I mean, he really, since Gordon Hayward got injured, he has taken a step, man. He's taken a step. I mean, what else can you say? He went from highlight dunker in the beginning of the season to now hitting threes and doing all types of offensive shit. I mean, they crushed the Celtics on Sunday. They absolutely demolished the Celtics. The Celtics didn't look like they belonged on the floor with them. You know what I mean? They didn't look like they belonged on the floor. It's a shame Charlotte has had too many injuries. They're going to get these guys back. There's a good chance that it looks like, I think Gordon Hayward technically is supposed to be back by next week. He was supposed to miss 4 weeks from the beginning of April. So it looks like he might be back next week. LaMelo Ball might be back next week. Not that LaMelo, but it's just a funner team with LaMelo. There's a bunch of stats that suggest LaMelo doesn't contribute as much to winning as we would like to think, I think. But it doesn't matter. More guys with talent is better than less guys with talent, right? More talented guys versus less talented guys, right? So it's going to help. Gordon's been playing great. We're going to see they have a lot of guys, as long as it doesn't mess up the what they've built so far. It'll be interesting. That'll be interesting series. Miami versus Charlotte in the play-in tournament is going to be a fun fucking game. If both sides are healthy, that's going to be a fun fucking game. Miami is. Let me tell you something. Miami lost to the Bulls yesterday. The Bulls, who are outside the play-in tournament right now. And at the end of the game, all right, at the end of the game, the Bulls have a lineup. Let's be clear here. So you got Jimmy the Greek. No, whatever, Jimmy the Greek. I'm going to call him that, but that's not a good one. Jimmy, who is like this everyone's darling, especially in late game situations. He's ice cold and doesn't give a fuck about anyone. That's cool, no problem. Bam is out there. Then they have kind of an amalgamation of guys. They got Goran Dragic is out there. You got Trevor Ariza playing a ton of minutes. Yeah, he's been actually playing well, but still probably playing too many minutes. And then they got the young guy, Gabe. What's his name? Gabe. The dude who baked us when we played him earlier this year. Gabe, whatever. I can't remember his name. Gabe Vincent. Who had a couple really good defensive plays at the end of the game yesterday. And so that's their closing lineup. Then you go to the Bulls, and the Bulls closing lineup yesterday. All right. The Bulls closing lineup is Kobe White, Tomas Satoransky, Daniel Tice, Lauri Markkanen, and Vooch. So essentially 3 centers, even though Daniel Tice is more of a power forward, and he's a good defender. So he is good at moving his feet, but he still moves like a big man when you watch him. He doesn't move like a perimeter player. I know he's 6'9", but he doesn't move like one of the 6'9" perimeter guys. He moves like a 6'9" center who has really good feet. Essentially 3 centers they close the game with, then Kobe White and Tomas Satoransky. And they just lost. They could not stop them, and they could not score on them. This is why I am kind of down on Bam a little bit. You know what I mean? This is kind of why I'm not super duper impressed with Bam. Yeah, oh yeah, they had B. And no, I'm sorry, and he had B elites out there too, towards the end of the game. Yeah, because there's a big play towards the end of the game where B elites gets a steal, gets it to Bam, and Bam gets fouled on the dunk. They had B elites out there at certain points too. I mean, there was some jerry rigging with the lineups towards the end, but because then at the end of the game, Patrick Williams comes in, grabs a rebound on a free throw. But there's just no reason why you're Jimmy. And I mean, Jimmy took a terrible 3-pointer late in the game. I mean, Jimmy, you're not a 3-point shooter. He takes a fucking Russell Westbrook style 3-point shot. I'm not impressed with Miami. I'm going to keep saying it. You know what I mean? I get it, man. But people completely just, again, we forgot that before COVID shut everything down, Miami was not good, man. They were not playing good at all. They were not at all playing well. Now, they didn't have Duncan yesterday. Duncan apparently was sick. He played 27 minutes before. Don't think he played in the fourth quarter. But they're relying a ton on Iggy, a ton on Trevor Ariza. Tyler Hero has not been good pretty much all season. He's had some ups and downs. Obviously, he baked us, but that happens. They didn't have Kendrick Nunn, but I mean, still, you got the best player. You got the best player. You have the 2 best players, arguably, because the Bulls they didn't have Zach LaVine. LaVine not back yet. He'll be back in a couple of days, I think. But there's no excuse. There's no excuse. You got the 2 best players. You got the 2 best players on the court. And you can't close this game? No, I don't like that. I don't like that. Indiana, Washington, Indiana. I mean, I don't really understand how Indiana's still hanging around. They don't have anybody playing half the time. I was looking at Caris LeVert's numbers. Caris is just progressively becoming a worse 3-point shooter throughout his career. I mean, he was 4 years ago, he was a 39% 3-point shooter. 4 years later, he's a 29% 3-point shooter. And it's been going down progressively. And now there's been injuries and all types of weirdness in with his playing. And then, obviously gets to Indiana and, they find that mass on his kidney. But I've watched Caris a good amount. And I like Caris. I like the concept of Caris LeVert. But when I watch him sometimes, I mean, he really shoots some bad shots. I look at Caris like a guy who is who's a good comparison for him? I don't know. He's just somebody who kind of requires the ball to be in his hands to be effective, but just isn't good enough for that role. You know what I mean? Just isn't necessarily good enough for it. So I don't know. Oh yeah, but with Miami also, I don't know what's up with Victor Oladipo. I know he's injured. He hurt his hamstring, maybe. I don't even know, man. He has not been play. He hasn't played. I mean, he played a couple games, so I don't know what's up with Oladipo. I'm not sure. Back to Karras. Yeah, so I don't know what's up with Karras, man. I'm just not impressed with him necessarily. Sabonis has been injured. He hurt. What did he hurt? He hurt something. I can't remember. But he'll be back. He'll be back this week, I think, or next week. Miles Turner looks like he's probably done for the season. He tore one of the things in your feet, one of the plantar fascia things in his feet. So he'll probably be done for the season. That which is probably a better case scenario for him. So that for the Pacers, so that not that the injury is good. Don't get me wrong, but that Sabonis can play the center instead of Miles Turner playing the 5. But I don't know. I don't know how Indiana's still here. Washington, they've been fighting. You know, they could end up in a too little, too late situation. We'll see. If it ended today, I would expect Washington to beat Indiana in a winner-take-all situation. I mean, you got the guns to do it, unless Russ shoots you out of the game, and that is for sure possible. And then if they played Miami or Charlotte, that would be tough for Washington. That'd be fun. The play-in tournament in both conferences is going to be fun. Indiana and the Spurs are similar to me, where they're the least sexy teams. The Spurs are actually good, though. Indiana is not good right now. The best case scenario is that the Bulls somehow make it in this, and Indiana makes it out of it, right? That would be the funnest, more star-driven way to end it, but we'll see. Also in the West, listen, I'm going to be very surprised. One, Terry Stotts is probably not going to make it past this season, I would guess. Just seems like Portland, somebody suggested that Portland has chemistry issues since the Norman Powell trade, and everybody was like, oh, Norman Powell's a great guy. There's no chemistry issues. But you're kind of forgetting that chemistry is more than just whether you like a person or not. It's not just chemistry in a locker room. There's also chemistry on the court, right? There's chemistry on the floor. Does he fit with the rest of this team? And I don't know. That trade didn't make any fucking sense to me. I would have rather kept Gary Trent Jr. I don't know why you traded for Norman Powell. They have not been winning since they traded for Norman Powell. So I don't know. It seems like their team is not good. I mean, they are a terrible defensive team. Cove supposed to come in and be. Derrick Jones Jr. doesn't play. Not sure why exactly. But Rondé Hollis-Jefferson is playing a million minutes. Rondé, who offers not much. I would think that I don't see how, in my mind, I don't see how you're not closing more games with a combination of Dame, of CJ, of Derrick Jones Jr., Cove, and Nurk. You know what I mean? Or even put Melo in the Cove spot, or put Melo in the Derrick Jones Jr. spot. But it just seems like you have these two guys who are very good defenders, very long, can cause a ton of issues because you have two small, undersized point guards who can get any shot they want. So why wouldn't you close the game with that? I understand that you traded for Norman Powell, but it's normal Norman. Man, I can't even imagine how that makes sense. Norman Powell's going to end up on the Knicks next year. They're going to overpay for him, and it's probably not going to be smart, but whatever. I don't know what to say. They fucked up. They fucked up. I don't know why you would trade Gary Trent Jr. It didn't make no sense. It just didn't make any sense. Not for Norman Powell. So I don't know. Terry Stotts is probably going to get fired. I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess Stan Van Gundy's probably going to get fired. Stan, listen, bro. Come on. I understand all this shit. I hate this. Everyone, I'm going to school everyone real quick. Let me school everyone. Stop this shit. Stop what shit, Brian? This shit. This Stan Van Gundy essentially throwing his players under the bus, and then people coming in and being like, oh, but these players are too soft, and that's why. Listen, motherfucker. It's not that they're too soft. I was talking about this the other day with a friend of mine. It's not people are too soft. We're becoming more accepting of mental health issues with men. It's not softness. It's that we're not willing to ignore people putting us down all the time, even in coaching. We don't give a shit that you're a coach. Who the fuck are you as a coach to essentially call me stupid or dumb? Maybe you're not doing a good job coaching, dickhead. How about that? That would be my response, honestly. I don't know Stan, and I have a lot of love for Stan based on him. He's super outspoken for racist issues and shit like that. I got a lot of love for Stan. But throwing your players under the bus does not galvanize players to play for you. Because these guys are not bus drivers on the side or taxi cab drivers on the side. They don't have cocaine problems on the side. These players now are more empowered. They're smarter. They believe in mental health. This generation believes in mental health and improving it. And they're not going to accept this super negative language shit being spoken to them. You're going to have to grow and mature to become a good coach. That just is what it is. You can be a player's coach, but still hold people accountable. You know what I mean? You can do both of those things. Being accountable doesn't mean being a dick to your players. So, Stan, you're probably going to get fired. You probably deserve it. Stop throwing your players under the bus. Coach them better. Coach them better. That's the only thing I can say to you. Coach them better. Anyway, still, there's no excuse, though. They have a lot of talent. You got Zion. You got Brandon Ingram. You should be better than what you are. That's all I'm going to say. You know what I mean? You should be better than that. They fucked up. They traded. I mean, but they didn't fuck up. They traded Drew for they had a ton of draft picks, so they didn't completely fuck up necessarily, but it is a little, it's not confusing. Well, it's confusing because you traded for Steven Adams, too. And then you got a bunch of draft picks, so which one is it going to be? I would think you have to flip Steven Adams for something. I don't know what's going to happen there. And Eric Bledsoe, my goodness. They won yesterday, though, mind you. They literally won yesterday. I don't know that they're going to make it into the play-in tournament. You know what I mean? I don't know that they're going to make it into the play-in tournament. I'll just be honest with you. Obviously, that would be the best-case scenario, right? If you care about stars, maybe you get the Spurs out and you put Zion in. That would be fun, but they're not going to make it to the play-in tournament. They don't deserve it. I started that because in the East, there was a team that I was thinking about. Maybe there isn't a team I was thinking about. No, I can't think of anything. If we look at the quick playoff run through here real quick, again, Knicks, Atlanta, want to see that. Denver, I would be terrified to see LeBron in the first. I don't know what the Clippers are going to do. I was listening to they were doing coaching rankings on Hollinger, the Dunked On podcast with Nate Duncan and John Hollinger. And they gave too much credit to guys who made it too far because of great players. One, they held Steve Kerr accountable for not being good outside of Steph, but they did not hold Tyrone Lue accountable for having LeBron and the possibility that they've been playing well, mind you, but I got to see it in the playoffs before I'm going to just say that he's a good coach outside of just LeBron being LeBron James, right? You know what I mean? So no one's sitting here saying Mike Brown is a good coach for a reason. With that, because Eric Spoelstra's proven it, right? That's the whole point. Eric Spoelstra's proven it outside of LeBron. He's proven many times to be able to reiterate his coaching style and change how they do things. I mean, and as well as the lineups, playing Chris Bosh at the 5. I don't have to get into all that. This is too much. I'm not going through history. I got to believe it before I see it on Tyrone Lue. That's all I'm going to say. I got to believe it before I see it. I do like Frank Vogel, though, as a coach, and he's had success outside of LA. That's why I like him. Although his offenses have been stale, which has always been the argument. Yeah, he's a defensive coach, but his offense has been stale. So when you give him LeBron, it's a little bit easier. Milwaukee, Boston, that's going to be an interesting series. Boston has been playing well. Outside of getting blown out by Charlotte on Sunday, they have been playing well. Kemba has been playing well. He's tied for second in charges taken in the NBA. Shout out to the Mismatch podcast where I learned that from. But it's not really a surprise. I mean, I've seen him playing defense. I hear people say he's a terrible defender, and I get it, but I don't necessarily agree. The times I've watched him, as much as I've watched Boston, he always looks locked in on defense. It's just that he sometimes is too small to really affect a play, but he does try. He gives effort. So when you say someone's a bad defender, what exactly do you mean? Maybe off ball. Maybe I'm not paying attention to him enough off ball. Maybe he's getting beat. I don't know, but he has been playing well. And when they played Golden State, it came down to Steph versus Tatum a good amount, but he hit the biggest three-pointer of the game. So, Brooklyn, Washington is the series we all need. Let's be clear. Brooklyn versus Washington, that's what we want to see. You know what I mean? Brooklyn, Washington, that's appointment viewing. No question about it. Brooklyn's going to win, but it'd still be fun to watch. And then us versus whoever, we're going to win that series. It's just that Miami's messy. Like, that's a messy series. I don't think the Raptors are going to get into the play-in tournament. I don't believe it. I pray that they don't. I don't believe it, but I pray that they do not. You know what I mean? Because I don't think it's that far-fetched that they could actually make it there. You know what I mean? If we look at the standings here, they're in 12th. They're tied with Chicago. Yeah, they're only a game out of Washington. You know what I mean? But based on the records, Toronto, you can see over the last 10, they're 6-4, but the Wizards are 8-2. Like I mentioned, they're really 9-2 over the last 11, but 8-2 over the last 10. So we'll see. I mean, the Pacers are still 6-4, though. They're keeping pace. The Pacers. I'm sorry. So we'll see. I don't think that Toronto. Is there anything else in the West here that I want to look at? No, the Thunder, the Kings are not impressive. They're not going to get there. The Pelicans have an outside chance of getting there, but it's you're tracing Golden State. It's out. When I say outside, it is the outest of outsides. Yeah, it's out. It's way outside. Unless because of the separation here, right? Portland is 2-8 in the last 10. If Portland fucked around and keeps losing games, then yeah, there is an outside chance. The Pelicans have to win though. They can't be 5-5 in the last 10. And based on the shit that Stan Van says about this team at times, I can't imagine that these players are going to be galvanized enough to play and make it to the play-in tournament. So we'll see. I think that's it, everyone. That's it. I'm going to put out another podcast. Obviously, there'll be more Sixers podcasts. I'm brainstorming another podcast I'm going to put out this week, maybe about mental health, maybe about body image or my eating disorder, which, I'll give you an update on. But that's it. Otherwise, everyone wash your hands, stay safe. You know the drill. Black Lives Matter. Wear a mask. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Stop Asian hate. Take care.
Yeah. Justice for the blind. Just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. Used to come